Is it possible that one of the best novels ever written about Florida history has come from the pen of an outsider? In December 1993, I talked to a Florida author who, while not a native of the Sunshine State, has done much to raise the level of consciousness of readers worldwide to the issues and the history of his adopted home.
I lived the first 37 years of my life in Mississippi, and now I feel closer to Florida than I do my own home state. I feel like I know as much about Florida, perhaps even more than my home state.
The creation of a sense of place that allows readers to feel intimately familiar with the land and its people has characterized the work of Patrick Smith, an outspoken, unconventional writer who, since coming to Florida in the 1960s, has championed several social and environmental causes, as well as bringing a large segment of Florida history to life for readers from Lake City to Leningrad. Smith wrote his first Florida novel in 1967, soon after moving here, but it wasn't until 1973 that he published the first of the three books for which he is best known, Forever Island.
I read articles in newspapers all the time about what they call the impending death of the Florida Everglades, and I wondered what would happen if the Everglades actually died to all those Seminole Indians who live down there, and they've been there now 150, 200 years, and what would happen to the wildlife, and that's what got me interested in that subject. So I spent a year down there before I wrote that novel, living among the Seminole Indians and exploring that land to really get the feel of it.
The pages of Forever Island are full of passages portraying the look and feel of the Everglades. Charlie Jumper, the novel's main character, is the archetypical independent and resourceful Indian, living off the land in relative isolation until his home and way of life are threatened by avaricious white men, in this case, the developers. To date, Forever Island has been translated into 46 languages and is used as a textbook in contemporary American literature in universities around the world. Smith's next major novel, Angel City, published in the late 1970s and produced as a CBS TV movie, is the story of harsh conditions in a South Florida migrant labor community.
Of course, Angel City, the novel that's set in a migrant camp, came about the same way. I read articles in newspapers about some really bad situations in migrant labor camps. But The Land Remembered, that's the first time I've ever written a novel that covers 3 generations of a family. I never attempted that before. I wrote it simply because no one had ever done it. No one had ever tried to cover that much of Florida's history in one novel. So I said, why not me? So I tried.
Published in 1984, A Land Remembered follows a Florida pioneer family down the length of the Florida Peninsula and through more than 100 years of history.
After the Civil War, most of the people who came into Florida came here from Georgia. And it was only then that they started really putting down roots, building homesteads, cattle ranches, farms, and the hardships those people went through is the most fascinating part of the history to me. I sometimes think I wished I had been born in the last century because the pace and the values were so different from what they are today.
He has helped to define what Florida is, and especially what Florida was for many of the people who are here.
Maurice Saki O'Sullivan is professor of English at Central Florida's Rollins College.
I should also note that Sloan Wilson once told me, and Sloan Wilson was the author of The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit, quite a few other novels, but none quite so popular as that. Wilson told me that he had moved to Florida to write the great Florida novel. And the reason he was leaving Florida was that he had read A Land Remembered.
A Land Remembered is absolute Bible to some of these old families. They all think I wrote about them.
Patrick Smith's list of awards and recognitions is long, ranging from nominations for the Nobel and Pulitzer Prizes to an award from the Daughters of the American Revolution. In the early 1980s, following the publication of Russian editions of 2 of his novels, Smith and his wife Iris toured pre-Glasnost Russia as guests of the Soviet Writers' Union. Over the past 15 years, Smith has given more than 1,000 lectures about his experiences as a writer, traveling to every corner of the state from his home on Merritt Island. He has little patience with the many Florida immigrants who haven't taken the time to learn about the history and the natural beauty of our state.
A lot of people, even other southern states, think Florida has no history. And some people really believe that Florida has always been the home of Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom. they don't realize what a frontier this was, you know. I think one of the problems is they never really get out and see the state. I've got friends that came here years ago from other states, and they spend 6-8 hours a day playing golf, 7 days a week. So that's it, you know. They've never really been out and seen the state of Florida.
Smith's next novel, due out in 1994, tells the story of the environmental problems around Florida's Indian River Lagoon, as seen by crabbers, fishermen, and others who struggle to make their living on the river. A man who calls himself an honorary cracker, Patrick Smith has produced what one scholar has called a small but extremely powerful body of work about issues important to Floridians, environmentalists, and history lovers everywhere. I'm Bill Dudley. With funds provided by the Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, this report was produced by the Florida Humanities Council.